Rather than our usual hour-long podcast, we decided to do a quick recap. This is to help friends and families of those who are listening to the campaign now to catch up without having to listen to hours and hours of podcast. We hope you enjoy, and for those of you who do listen every week, thank you so much for being there. Hopefully this will be a good recap.
Our story begins in the world of the Veilwalkers in Darethil, where one of our main characters, Ariana Nabor, a half-elf lore bard, was preparing for her initiation rite. A large ceremony with 52 initiates in which adventurers prove their worth. For her initiation trial, Ariana was paired with 3 others, a dwarven cleric named Denarak, a half-elf paladin named Catherine, and a water genasi monk named Tide. Together, they were tasked with retrieving a relic from the Labyrinth of Shadows. There, they were faced with booby traps, illusionary floors, capital D darkness, acid pits, gelatinous cubes, and a riddle. Upon their successful completion of their quest, the group was brought before the Avatar of the Sunveil to receive his mark.
Not long afterwards, Ariana found herself drawn back to the center of town, where the Avatar of the Sunveil was once again waiting for her, this time accompanied by 2 others. Sariel, a half-elf wizard who frequently mixes up mysterious potions, as well as Sun in the Darkness, a Greyford Tabaxi paladin of the primate deity Zabumafu. Both marked as part of the early initiation rite. There they were met by a drunken half-orc fighter named Grimmum Steelgrip. The Sunveil had called upon them for a task, to sail to Cletheros, a continent across the sea. With little to no detail, he sent our heroes on their way, but not before giving his mark to Grimmum.
Confused and not at all thrilled with their new company, our heroes headed for the Watervale to find passage across the sea. After taking a shortcut across the Airvale plains and stumbling into a lesser vale full of daunting scarecrows, they finally reached their destination. Grimmum made quick work to find an old contact of his, Captain Bartleby. As it turned out, Captain Bartleby had been recruited by the Watervale to assist in this mysterious mission. Grimmum spent the rest of the night trying to round up his drunk and disorderly companions.
Once the ship was underway, Captain Bartleby briefed the party on the details of their quest. To find Captain Helena Aetherius, champion of the Watervale, who was also marked by the Sunveil, Airvale, as well as a Lesser Vale. The famous sea captain was dispatched to investigate Falanganti roughly 3 months prior and had not been heard from since. The only information they could find was a scryed location in southern Cletheros, near the city of Cabarata, heart of the Cletheri Empire.
The journey at sea took over 2 weeks. Our heroes and the ship's crew faced hostiles and raging storms. Near the end of their voyage, the ship was attacked by horrifying creatures none of the party recognized. After defeating these creatures, Captain Bartleby tells our heroes the story of creation, but not the version they are familiar with.
In the beginning, there were 2 sentients that eventually became self-aware, becoming the 2 goddesses. One who brought order to chaos, Toa Themis, and the other who brought chaos to order, Toa Kronos. They started to create, and these powers of creation awakened other sentient beings, including the 7.
The Pestilence, the Binder, the Devourer, the Breaker, the World Shaker, the Unmaker, and the Great Unraveling.
The goal of the 7 was to sow discord, destruction, and ultimately unmake everything the goddesses had made.
Bartleby explained that the creatures that had attacked were called the Warped, humanoid servants of the 7. Through the very touch of their masters, their bodies and very beings were twisted and cursed. The Warped are weak, wretched creatures that could only grow in power if they consumed those marked by veils, since those who are marked carry a tiny, tangible piece of the powers of creation with them.
With this new threat pursuing them, Bartleby informed the party that he is sending his boatswain, Acadius, with them when they made land. Thus Acadius, the Asmor sorcerer, part-time as a gladiator, joined our heroes on their quest.
They made land in a northern province of Cletheros, specifically in a small fishing port formerly used for smuggling. Our heroes raided a few of the abandoned warehouses before they made their 3-day trek south to the city of Okiabara. They stopped for a night gathering supplies, making a plan, and, well, mostly drinking. Grimmum realized that he and Acadius had once fought here, back when the city was called Hansburg and the royal family still ruled. With some dissuading, the party talked Grimmem out of trying to pull a royal rescue mission, at least until they completed their current task at hand. However, as they left the city to head south, Grimmem looked at one of the Imperial guards and stated, "Hansburg will rise."
After more days of travel and random encounters, our heroes arrived at the gates of Imerus, a large city that both Grimmem and Acadius knew well from their days as mercenaries fighting against the Cletheri Empire. What was once a vibrant trade town was now seemingly abandoned. With further investigation, the city had been abandoned for at least 3 weeks, though there were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, no ruins. Sariel noticed, however, that there was immense magical aura that drowned out all others over the city.
As the party investigated the central temple, they found something most unexpected. A beautiful woman with a scarred face entombed in magical glass. With some major mojo on the bard's part, the glass was dispelled, leaving the unconscious deity lying at their feet. They identified her as a lesser goddess, Sylvia. With the glass dispelled, a wave of magic blew through the city. Our heroes noticed they were no longer alone. With some fighting, sneaking, and running, they made it to the city hall with the goddess slung over Grimmem's shoulder.
While trying to avoid the numerous Fae now wandering the streets, Acadius checked the back alleyway. He spotted a small creature. Unsure of what it might be, he consulted Sariel. The wizard stuck her head out and was spotted. The small creature, that she identified as a boggle, quickly appeared inside behind her, speaking frantically. Luckily, Ariana spoke Sylvan, the language of the Fae. The boggle seemed quite excited to find the goddess that Grimmem was holding. He did his best to explain to Ariana that he and all his Fae cousins had been looking for her for eons. That upon her discovery, there would be a bash. Though the curious little creature's intentions were somewhat unclear, it was very clear that he cared about the well-being of this goddess. Sun, the Tabaxi paladin, was able to make the connection that Sylvia was the goddess of the Fae. Ariana asked a few more questions of the boggle. The little creature, unsure of how to answer her, asked them to stay there, and then disappeared out a window.
A few minutes later, the boggle reappeared with an old man in dark blue robes. The old man appeared to be a satyr, introducing himself in the common language as Fawnholm. He gives our heroes a better idea of what was happening in that town.
Almost 7 eons ago, Sylvia and her brother Zabumafu fought as champions in the war against the Seven. After the war, she decided it was best if she was hidden away in a state of magical sleep until the time of the next war approached. A powerful magic veiled her from the world, and she was set in that location. It was until about 8,000 years ago that the mortals settled the land. However, about 3 weeks ago, the Cletheri Empire came through and used the city and its inhabitants as a testing site for some kind of unorthodox magic that accelerated time with such magnitude that Fawnholm was sure the mortals had some help from a more powerful being. In the acceleration, all the inhabitants aged, died, and decomposed, leaving no trace at all. The spell also disrupted the veiling spell hiding Sylvia. When Ariana dispelled the crystal in which Sylvia was encased, there was a magical burst that drew the Fae across all realms.
Farnharm explained that the need for Sylvia was approaching in the next 5 to 750 mortal years. With that information, our heroes contemplated what to do with the still slumbering goddess. They finally came to the decision it was safest for her to be awoken early as opposed to just being left sleeping unprotected and likely to be found. With the satyr's assistance, they worked old magic to rouse Sylvia.
Following her awakening, Sylvia answered some questions from the awestruck party. She promised Acadius her children, the Fae outside, would not harm him. She was able to tell Grimmem that his son was trapped in the in-between. She could tell them that the magic used to conceal Captain Aetherius was likely due to a greater veil, as well as the fact that the magic that destroyed this town likely had the assistance of a veil.
And with that, the goddess Sylvia gathered her children and went off to wait.
Have you enjoyed the story so far? We have, and we have a lot of story to go. So please stick with us and share with your friends. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, Sam, you wrote us our script for today. Thank you so much for your help. We hope to see you all next week. Sincerely, the LACA team.